an ever-changing world, Off Hollywood Media presents a voice of truth and inspiration, resonating a vibration of love and understanding, illuminating new paths for new directions, as we, as one, strive for higher and higher levels of consciousness, always remembering life changes. And now, your host, our MC, our master of change, Filippo Voltaggio.
Ciao, everyone, and welcome to Life Changes Indeed. Life is changing. And changing for me, not just in the day-to-day, this is happening differently. It's how I'm thinking of things differently, how I'm doing things differently. So today, we're certainly going to take it to the envelope by talking about something in a way I don't know that I have ever thought about or talked about before, that there was a civilization on this beautiful earth of ours that was much more intelligent and much more spiritual than we are, or that we think we are even. And this very young director who is working on a show, and this is exciting too because he is Ramon Govea Gomez, and the show is right now in production, so it's not even on TV yet. So we get to have an inside look on a show that's not even out there yet. So this is really exciting. But he's here to talk about the show and to talk about this civilization that lived here before we did, that was able to do things that we can't even dream of, or some of us are dreaming of. But can't wait to have him on and talk to him and see what he has to say. And the other thing that I really like is that he's so young, and he is talking about things that I didn't think of when I was that age. And I know a lot of people his age and older that don't even think like he does. So I can't wait to see where that kind of inspiration comes from for him. So talking about how we do things differently, or at least I'm starting to. I know all of us are starting to look at things differently, do things differently, say things differently. And let's talk about business for a second. And it's interesting how there was a meeting that I was supposed to go to. This happened in the beginning of the year, but I really didn't put it all together until really recently. There was a meeting I was supposed to go to, and I say that with parentheses because, or quotation marks, because I woke up and I had a headache. Now, headaches don't usually stop me from doing anything, and I don't get them that often, thankfully, and so they just happen, and so what? I still do what I need to do. I actually don't believe in taking pills for headaches and all that, so I either do it the natural way with massaging or whatever, or I live with it throughout the day. So I knew this would be a headache. For some reason, I felt that would last me throughout the day, but it wasn't going to stop me from doing anything that I didn't want to do. But for some reason, I decided I wasn't going to go to this meeting. And so I called my colleagues and I said, I'm not coming to the meeting. Of course, they wanted to know why. So now I had to give them a reason. I said, I have a headache. Now, I knew if I said, I really don't feel well, I think I'm sick, they would have been afraid that I would be contagious, but I didn't want to lie. And I didn't feel that badly. I just had a headache. And so I was honest, and I said, I have a headache. And then I went on to say something worse than that. I said, actually, that's not really what's stopping me from coming to the meeting. I think the headache is to tell me I'm not supposed to be at the meeting. And I had a colleague jump all over me saying, oh, you're not coming to a meeting because you have a headache. Oh, well, guess what? My toenail hurts or something. I'm not going to go either. And who do you think you are? Just saying, I'm not coming to the meeting because I don't feel like it. And I had to think about that, and I had to stand my ground, and I went and said something like, if it's that important, I'll come. Well, obviously the meeting was important, otherwise we wouldn't have had it. But I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there, and the headache was just an excuse for me to look at it and say, am I supposed to be there? Do I really need to go there? Well, months later, this same colleague who was all over me for not going to this meeting, and come to find out, I didn't really technically need to be at this meeting, actually. We were going to talk about something, ended up not talking about that until the last 5 minutes of the meeting, and that's was supposed to be the whole meeting. And that's why I was supposed to be there, is to talk about that 5 minutes. And it was a 4-hour meeting, but they talked about something else that had nothing to do with me. Maybe I wasn't supposed to be at this meeting. So I fast forward months later, this colleague of mine that got all over me for not having been at this meeting gets sick. Literally, I saw him, he was sick, and couldn't go to a meeting. And I went to the meeting, and this colleague was so disappointed in himself. I'm sorry I got sick, and I'm sorry I disappointed. And I said, who says you disappointed anybody? Maybe you weren't supposed to be at the meeting. Oh, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. So, indeed, at the meeting, it was perfect that he wasn't there. Because then, everybody at the meeting set it all up so perfectly that when he stepped in after the meeting, everything was as if it was divinely inspired, that he just stepped into his place and did his thing, and had he been there before, it would have been just a confusion. And so I thought, maybe his higher self knew he wasn't supposed to be at the meeting and made him sick. But isn't there a better way? And where does this sickness actually come from? So I started to think, when we were kids, how many of us didn't get sick before a big test? Huh? Or did get sick, I should say. And we used to have a note and an excuse, and we used to be able to cough or sneeze or show mucus coming out of our nose and put our bodies through all this pain so that we wouldn't have to take this test. And I just wonder, what if we just, instead of making our bodies go through all of that, if we could start respecting ourselves and be able to stand in our power and say, I don't think I'm supposed to be at this meeting, and I'm not really sure why. And I'm willing to accept whatever responsibility comes from my not showing up, but I'm not going to get sick just so that I can have an excuse for you to understand why I shouldn't be at this meeting. Or for me, for that matter. Because some of us think, well, I'm well, I should go. And so I was thinking, there's a friend whose wife got cancer, and somebody else that I know, an acquaintance whose husband got cancer, and I'm thinking, and actually a friend of mine who just got cancer, and I'm thinking, I know their lives so well, because they're close, some of them. And I see where this cancer is helping them be loved by their spouse in a way that they haven't been. And I'm thinking, wow, if he or she would have been able to say, you know, I don't feel like you're showing me enough love, or I would love for you to treat me a little bit more caringly. Maybe then our bodies wouldn't have to, or our higher selves wouldn't have to develop this cancer so that we can be loved, so that we could be shown love from people around us. What if we were able to stand in our power and say, you know, I'm feeling a little down, and call our family, our friends, and say, I could sure use some love today. As opposed to getting sick or getting cancer and calling our families from the hospital and saying, I'm in the hospital, just so they could show up then. How about throwing a party for yourself and saying, today's the day that I want to celebrate me, or I feel good about me. Come, let's have a party. Instead of, I think I'm going to die and I'm in a hospital, so that everybody could come and kind of have a party in a sad sort of way. There's a paradigm shift going on, and we're all part of it. And I don't know why it's taken me this long to figure this part out, but I'm really grateful to the meeting and the headache and my friend and him getting sick and us having this kind of a relationship to be able to talk about these things so that we can come to these kinds of conversations, and that we can come to these kinds of conclusions for the good of all. And I don't want to get sick anymore just so that I could ask for love, or just because I don't want to go to a meeting. I want to say, I don't think I should be at that meeting, or I want to say, I could use a little bit more love, or I could give a little bit more love. And I can do that well and not hurting. And I'm excited about that. And that's what I'm going to do. And so I encourage you all to think about that. And with that, I want to remind you all that you're listening to Life Changes, indeed. And so this is www.lifechanges.ws. I am your host, Filippo Voltaggio. And today we have our guest, who is this intriguing young man. His name is Ramon Govea Gomez, and he is a producer, an actor, a director, and an award-winning screenwriter. Now, it's interesting because he was born and raised in Los Angeles and then moved away to Washington, D.C., and he has only recently returned in the past couple years. And in this short time, he already has written 7 shorts and 3 features and is currently producing a new TV series. So obviously his energy was supposed to be here,
Right.
But obviously he had to go and experience something and then say, I'm supposed to be back in Los Angeles. So back in Los Angeles he is, and it's this TV show, a series that is slated to hit the airwaves later this year that we are so excited about that he is going to be talking to us about. Now, I know he can't reveal too much because, of course, we want to save some for the show.
Absolutely.
But he is currently writing and producing for PBS a show called Ancient Tomorrow. So without further ado, let's bring on Ramon Govea Gomez.
Thank you for having me, Filippo. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Come closer so that we make sure that we get every word that you're saying.
Sure.
Now, I said earlier that you were very young, and you are. And so I have to ask, most young adults your age aren't thinking about saving the world or talking about things, and you're not thinking about how much money you can make off of this, or you're saying this is a subject that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that passion come from for something so altruistic?
It's, I wouldn't even go so far as to say it's so altruistic. It's something that is a driving force for me that it's kind of a long story, but this show is called Life Changes, so I've gone through a lot of life changes. I was, started off, I was very religious as a child. I was raised Catholic, Roman Catholic, very strict. I was the altar boy, went to Catholic school all my life, went to Catholic high school, and when I was about 15, 16, I went through a faith crisis. And that was a very pivotal period in my life where I had done really well in school. I was really focused, had a lot of extracurricular activities. I was in student government, all kinds of things. And at that point, I kind of saw some things in the church that I wasn't too happy about. People are people, and everyone's fallible. And that really just kind of rocked my world. My core belief system with my religion and everything was kind of turned upside down. At the time, my family was going through a divorce, so that added a little bit of stress to me as well. I mean, it's 2 basic belief systems,
right.
Religion and family, were just completely turned upside down.
Yeah, they're the strongholds of your life
exactly,
at that time.
Exactly.
Especially being a child.
Mm-hmm. And I was, it went on for about 2 or 3 years, from the age of about 16 to 18. I went off to college, University of Maryland, so I stayed in that area. But I went into a pretty serious depression. And that is the point that really, I don't know if you've heard the rubber band principle, but when you pull a rubber band, the further down you go. As soon as you finally release, the higher and faster you go. So that's kind of what happened with me. I went into a really bad depression to the point of, almost suicide a few times. And that spanned over the course of almost 10 years.
Wow.
About 8 or 9 years, where I went in and out of these periods. I gained weight. At my most, I weighed about 220 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
And, yeah. And so it was just all kinds of different events. And at a certain point, I said, I need to get out of this area. Washington, D.C. is just not for me. So I ended up moving actually to Colorado. And I spent a year up in the mountains, and it's kind of metaphorical. I climbed this mountain. I started engaging a lot more physical activities. Took some time to really figure out who I was, what I was doing, and really just let myself at the mercy of the universe or God or whatever great spirit was out there. And I asked if there's anything out there for me and there's more to this life than what I'm getting, please give it to me. Show me a sign, anything.
Wow.
And a few days later, I came across a movie called The Secret.
Uh-huh.
And, it's gotten a lot of flack just because it can be a little wah-wah, woo-woo, whatever. Mm-hmm. But it was a pretty powerful movie. It really resonated with me. I thought, what do I have to lose to really consider what they're teaching in this film? Mm-hmm. And it was movies. I've always loved movies ever since I was a kid. So it just resonated with me. It was a great way to reveal a message, and that message was revealed to me through film. So it kind of highlighted that as an area for me. And a woman by the name of Tracy Carlson, actually she was my boss at the time, was kind enough to say, anyone in the staff, we have a couple of copies of this movie. If you just want to borrow it, check it out, see what you think. So I picked it up, and that really got me in a different direction. I said, what do I have to lose? I'm already depressed. I'm already, I've lost a little to live. I need something different. So I gave it a shot, gambled, and that was really what sent me on a path of personal development. I started looking into different spiritual teachings. I looked into a lot of Eastern philosophy, really started investigating the basis for Western religions and all that kind of stuff, and just figured out that religion wasn't really something for me. Spirituality was very important to me, and I knew that was something that was so intangible but so important. I needed to incorporate that into everything I did. So picked up everything, decided I need to pursue my dreams and really figure out what I want to do, and it was movies. It had always been since I was about 15, 16. And so I did. I came out to LA and just kind of put it out there. I asked myself, what kind of projects do I want to work on? What do I really want to bring into the entertainment industry? How am I going to define myself as an artist? Because film is an art, just like painting, just like, art drawing, anything like that.
Right, absolutely.
Music. So that's kind of how I'm approaching the whole thing. I really wanted to dive into something with substance.
It sounded like you went through kind of a midlife crisis. Only it wasn't anywhere near your midlife, at least we hope for you.
Right.
So it's interesting that this isn't the first time I hear this, that usually the midlife crisis thing we've known to happen much, much later in years. At the youngest, maybe 30, but usually 40, sometimes 50. And it's happening earlier and earlier. And I wonder if this midlife crisis thing is really like a rite of passage almost, that something that we all have to go through in order to be able to be who we are.
I definitely think so. And a good friend of mine once told me, before every breakthrough, there's a breakdown. You really have to just eliminate all the clutter in your life, go through it all, figure out what at your very core is really important to you. You think about, in 10 years from now or in 20 years from now, what am I going to take from this situation? Am I going to be really angry and frustrated and upset that it happened? Or am I not even going to remember that the event even took place? And when you can really look at your core being and really understand who you are and what you want, everything just gets a lot easier.
Okay, so you said California is the place I ought to be, so you loaded up the truck and you moved to Beverly. And now you're here. And what did you see? You saw a civilization that you said, something's wrong. There's got to be more intelligent life someplace.
Exactly.
And something told you that there was? Okay, let's get into the meat of this. What are you saying here?
So I got here and really started kind of trying to figure out, how do I break into the industry?
Okay.
There's so many challenges. Everyone says, it's going to take you 5, 10 years to really break into your craft. And
so you were looking for a gimmick, I think.
I think I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I was lured by the glamour and
or an angle, I should say. Maybe not a gimmick.
An angle for sure. And so delving into the personal development for the last year and a half, and really just focusing on that for the first year that I was here, really helped me to understand that if you really want to get anything in life, you have to have commitment. You have to have dedication, persistence, commitment, and you really have to believe in yourself at the core. If you don't believe that ultimately you can succeed at something, that no matter what happens, no matter what's thrown in your face, you can still succeed, then you might as well just pack up and go home.
I have to interrupt you here and say that I forgot to mention this, and I wanted to mention that this is your very first interview ever.
It is. It is.
Yeah. And that's very exciting to be that, just that.
Extremely exciting.
And at the same time, you're very good.
Well, thank you.
You're very good.
Thank you.
So I wish you great success in your many, many, many future interviews. And I know that you have already a huge fan base, and I've been on Facebook, and I've seen people and emails that I've gotten saying thanks for putting Ramon on. And
cool. That's awesome,
and I know people are listening. So is there anybody in particular you want to say hello to?
Well, definitely my family. I know my mother's listening, my father, my sister. And I have a bunch of friends that are listening right now, people from Colorado, people from Washington, D.C. So it's really nice to have the support. So I just want to thank everyone who is listening live right now thank you for the support. Thank you for listening.
Well, this is very exciting. Your very first interview in Los Angeles and for your career. So you're off to a good start. Now, so you found an angle. And when you found this angle, I get the feeling that the angle part of it kind of went over to the side. It's like, wait a minute, you just delved in.
Mm-hmm. I basically had to convince myself that I was worthy of this ambition. You know, here's something that everyone tells you, oh, it's impossible to do that. You know, no one, less than 5% break into the industry and actually get somewhere. And I said, you know what? The great people who have done something did it no matter what anyone else said. So I said, I just want to pursue what it is that I really love and hope that everyone accepts it.
Okay, so you pick something that's easily acceptable. That there.
I definitely set some obstacles in my way just by choosing the things I did. It's I went really into the spiritual end. A lot of people are still not comfortable with discussing these kinds of things, but I just started. It started when I was a kid. I had always loved mythology and history, just ancient civilizations, ancient cultures. So it just seemed natural when I responded to this Craigslist ad looking for a screenwriter, and it wasn't too detailed. It was kind of hush-hush. I didn't know what it was for, but it was J.J. Yosh. He had put a post on Craigslist looking for a screenwriter, and he was doing interviews. So I spoke to him on the phone. We had a great conversation about, he was like, what religion are you? How do you feel about esoteric knowledge and things like that? And it worked, it clicked. We definitely had some similarities in our belief systems. And when he told me about the project, I was like, wow, this is something that could potentially change the world. And why not? If I'm going to do something that's impossible anyway, why not shoot a little bit higher?
And how appropriate that you are revealing this on a show called Life Changes.
Yes.
So what you're trying to say, that what could potentially change the world, is that before us and before cavemen, if they're even
before what we believe cavemen were. Okay. So at this point, history teaches us that the first writings were in Sumeria, Assyria, Babylonia, that area, and there's a definite date to that. Before that, they have cave paintings, basic stick figures, things like that. So what we are proposing here, and what we're going to actually investigate, this is the whole purpose of the show, is to go out to ancient sacred sites and investigate the possibility of an ancient civilization that pre-existed, that predated the Egyptians, predated the Babylonians, and all these advanced civilizations, like the beginning of what we consider to be the beginning of civilization today.
We don't think about it too much or talk about it, but in some of those cave drawings, there are funny-looking people.
Yes.
And there are also saucers, flying saucers, and things that you wouldn't expect cavemen to just dream up.
Right. And so what our investigation is going to lead us to is we're not necessarily going to say that, yes, it's aliens. We're not going to say what it is yet, but we're going to investigate the possibility of an advanced civilization of humans who could have had flying devices. So maybe it's not extraterrestrials. Maybe there was an advanced civilization who was able to build these organic flying vessels. And perhaps because they were organic, because they were so advanced, that they were so in tune with nature, in tune with the planet, they would use crystals or stones or trees to build these devices. And now, because of decomposition, because of the way, there might not be any evidence left. What does stand is things like the pyramids. These great structures that were built, who knows how. We still don't know how they were built.
Well, actually, you had a theory on that. And it's interesting because when we talked about this last, you were saying something to the effect of, they were not only more intelligent, these beings, people, whatever, they were much more spiritual.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, so what does that mean?
So basically, in our research and what we've been looking at in the last few months, I've been interviewing experts who are scientists, Egyptologists, chematologists, people who have really been investigating the culture of these ancient races. We find that they've been around for a lot longer than our history tells us. And this knowledge has been passed down through much oral tradition. So there are story keepers, wisdom keepers, knowledge keepers who are shamans and priests and people in these indigenous tribes who still keep this knowledge and pass it down. And it still fulfills a lot of the ancient religions as well, because a lot of the religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, they all have these prophecies that it's the end of time, right? It's the end of the world. 2012 is going to come. Maybe the Messiah is going to return. So many different belief systems, but there are similarities that we find across all of these belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're doing is we're deciphering these stories, these codes, these mythologies, and we're trying to figure out one big story that makes sense from all of them. So what we're finding is that we are entering an age of what a lot of circles call the awakening, or it's kind of new agey right now, but all of the religions support it. It's a new time for humanity. Some people are believing that it's the end of the world, but it's not the end of the world. It is the end of the world as we currently know it. So things are going to change. We're already going through a process of awakening, of uplifting our consciousness. We're reaching out to love a lot more. Love is an important theme right now. I mean, look at just our political structure right now. People are pushing for Obama to be more loving and more compassionate. Like that's where most of us are headed.
Mm.
So what we're proposing is that there was this ancient civilization who was already at that point, who promoted equality and love, and were able to coexist peacefully.
It's crazy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely crazy.
It's insane, right? We're not capable of that. Absolutely, right? So that's what we're finding, is that a lot of these systems that have been in place for thousands of years have not nurtured that aspect of our humanity.
Hmm.
If you look at the patriarchal societies, it's very much men are in charge, very brutal, ritualistic ways of just taking people's lands. We've become so materialistic.
Hmm.
But I think that a lot of people are beginning to turn away from that way of living. And for a lot of indigenous cultures, this is a part of the cycle. This is a new era where we are going to go through this change, and change is always going to be a very difficult time for people. A lot of gunk, I guess you could say, comes up, stuff you don't want to deal with, stuff you don't want to face, but change is necessary. It's part of life. It's the only constant. And so...
What, have you been reading our website or something?
No. So, exactly. I mean, and that's what this show is about. It's about change. So what we're finding is that all these ancient cultures, they knew this was coming. Their calendars were tied directly to this time period. Mm. And it's just a time for us to really awaken and become aware of that knowledge again.
Will the show touch on these topics?
It will, eventually. I mean, a lot of this stuff is still in our research, so we don't know exactly what we're going to kind of incorporate and what not. It has to go through so many different people before it gets to the screen.
Right.
But it's a big part of where I'm coming from. Right. It's a big part of what me as a screenwriter is going to bring to the show. I mean, it's going to be an action-adventure television series, so it's really about this team of specialists who are experts in their fields. So we have a couple of different people. We have archaeologists. Right. We have an anthropologist to study the cultures. J.J. Yosh is he's a wonderful adventurer and chemist. So he's bringing that to the table. And we're really just going to go out there and use their skills to really figure out what is true and what is not. What can we really find out? We don't want to really push an agenda because, that's what the media does now. Mm-hmm. And we really want to shy away from that. We really just want to see what the possibilities are.
Well, I want to remind everybody that you're listening to Life Changes, and you can learn more about us at www.lifechanges.ws. I am Filippo Voltaggio. I am your host, and I am having the pleasure of talking to Ramon Govea Gomez, who is a producer, actor, director, and award-winning screenwriter. And he's working on a TV series called Ancient Tomorrow. Now, it's in production, so it's not on TV yet, so we're getting a little glimpse inside what the show is going to be about. But you said, we've been talking about your life changes that have brought you here, and your experiences that you, as you're learning about this changing of the ages and the earth and spirituality and all that, and you're saying that we are materialistic and that perhaps this society wasn't. However, the society that was here before us is what you're proposing. So this society, however, you say that without giving away too much, potentially there's proof that they had big screen TVs, cell phones, and computers.
Right.
So let's talk about materialism.
Well, not exactly. What we mean by that is that a lot of the technology that we use today, LCD screens, CDs, DVDs, they're all based in technology that could have potentially existed back then. So we're talking about crystal technology when we talk about those specific things. I mean, liquid, crystal technology. And what it does is crystals store information. Mm-hmm. And so what we are going to be investigating is the possibility that this culture was so advanced and so in tune with nature itself that they could literally tap into the information stored in our planet. They could communicate with plants. They could really understand what, and transfer information onto crystals. So we're kind of investigating the pyramids right now. That's where a majority of my research is going. Right now, this very moment, that's what I'm focused on. And what I'm starting to learn is that I spoke to a great chematologist, which chematology is something that a man named Stephen Meller, in conjunction with his mentor, founded. And what they have been working towards revealing to the public is the notion that there was a civilization that predates the Egyptians, just specifically the Egyptians.
Okay. And they're not cavemen. So
no, not cavemen
as we know them.
Not as we know them, no, not at all. In fact, they were much more advanced than that. So their theory, or I know Stephen's theory, is definitely that the pyramid at Giza was used for something more than just a tomb. A lot of our historians and archaeologists still to this day think that a lot of the pyramids were used at tombs, but his argument is they were not at all. And there's really no evidence to really prove that. I mean, they have their burial sites, but the Pyramid of Giza itself has the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber. I don't know if you know anything about that.
Well, you said there's no evidence to prove what? That they were used as tombs or they were not?
That they were used as tombs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what we're finding is that, first of all, it's so complex to get into the science of it, but alabaster.
They're so precise.
Yeah, they are. They're so precise. They're monolithic. They're huge stones
right.
that it's still to this day physically impossible for us with our technology to put together. So we're coming up with different theories and trying to figure out how they could have possibly built these things, what their purpose was. Chris Dunn, who's a wonderful author, has a book called, I hope I'm getting it right, The Giza Power Plant. And so what he suggests is that the Pyramid of Giza was used as an energy source. So if this civilization was so advanced...
That I've never heard.
Yeah, you should definitely look into that. Great book. What we're kind of investigating at this point is whether these structures could have harnessed energy, natural energy, solar energy, whether it's wind energy, water energy, and provided this unlimited resource for that civilization that existed.
Wow.
So then, if it's an organic resource, if it's organic, then there's really no way to prove that they were using a cog or a cog machine or anything with metals. A lot of their work is stonework, which everyone, because we are using metals these days, people just assume that stonework is just an inferior way of building things. It's just not true. It's just an assumption
Evidently
that we
not,
make.
because they're still
there.
They're
still there. Yeah, absolutely. If we wait as long as the pyramids have been around, I
guarantee
there wouldn't be a lot of what we see right now, or the structures would collapse. The structural integrity just doesn't last.
Right.
So we're looking into the structures. We're looking into the mathematics behind it. I mean, all of these structures, not only are they precise, but they operate on some basic mathematical equations that are just so advanced. What we're trying to do, sacred geometry, all that stuff. And so what we're finding out also is that all of life is based in fractals. If you really look into quantum physics and start following, it's just about connections, really. You have to take all these different areas as a researcher and really put them together.
It's exciting to hear you talk like this. I'm thrilled, actually, and so
it excites me.
well, good, and obviously, as a matter of fact, I just received a text from two texts actually from one of your new best fans, or couple different ones that are saying "Viva Ramon."
Awesome.
And this is not a fan that you had before, obviously, because I know this person. So
right, because they come on your phone.
Right, they come on my phone. That's right.
I'm not getting any text right now. So
you have your phone out. So, but you were talking about when we talked earlier how actually these pyramids were put in place.
Right.
And you had a theory that I hadn't heard before. I've heard a lot of theories, but I hadn't heard this one.
So, a couple things that I've come across are...
and it involved the water thing,
yes,
so do
absolutely.
talk about that.
So what we're finding is that the structure of the pyramids, they were basically built on the Giza Plateau, right? Specifically, I'll just talk about the pyramid at Giza. And I had a great discussion with Stephen Meller, again, who's a chematologist, a good friend of mine now. He was telling me that under this plateau are a whole bunch of different water canals. Mm-hmm. And so these canals are built such that a lot of the water flows at, specifically 90-degree angles. Again, it correlates to that sacred geometry. So whoever built these things was so advanced they were able to literally cut these with such precision that we still can't do stuff like this today. Mm. And so this water would flow under the pyramid, and in the pyramid there's some evidence of gas erosion. So the theory is that they could have been breaking down water into hydrogen and oxygen, thus going through these chambers. The way it's structured, it would flow through a chamber in a specific way, and it would cause a resonance. Mm-hmm. So basically this pyramid could have been resonating at a certain vibration. Mm. And so I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Earth apparently has a vibrational resonance. I think it's 6 megahertz. But the pyramids apparently could resonate between 2 and 9 megahertz. Mm. And what we're finding is that crystals, specifically quartz, can manipulate resonance. They can control the vibrational flow of energy.
Wow.
So alabaster, which is a highly crystalline stone, is being found at basically all the floors of a lot of the temples and pyramids out there are made of this crystal stone. So we're just kind of putting these pieces together, and what we're finding also is that as far as construction goes, there are experiments that can be done today, and we'll probably go into that in the show a little bit. Can't go too much into it, but
darn, can't wait.
We speculate that levitation could have been involved in the construction of the pyramids.
Levitation.
Mm-hmm. So, using sound harmonics, because sound is such a powerful force of nature that hasn't really been explored. I mean, you can use sound for so many things. People have attested to sound being used for healing.
Absolutely.
Sound can definitely be used to literally vibrate something.
Right.
So what we're finding is that with the proper control and in the proper circumstances, perhaps with the use of water and crystals, you can move an object using sound.
Wow. This is not just an object. These stone pyramids, each piece weighs tons.
Tons. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but there's something called the Coral Castle in Florida.
Yes.
Have you heard of that?
Yes.
That was completed and built by one man.
Right. And
he unfortunately passed away and took the secret of how he built it with him. Now, it's still in Florida, it still stands, but there are these monumental structures that were somehow put in this order. I mean, there's like a 9-ton gate that, with the tap of a finger, can open.
Right, and it sits on just a little piece of something. Mm-hmm. It pivots on...
Right, it pivots on, I don't remember the specifics, but yeah, it's just...
And it's a 9-ton gate.
9-ton gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That moves easily with the tap of a finger. So it's just interesting how structurally you can manipulate these stones, and if someone in Florida could do it, then there is a way that everyone else can do it.
Well, maybe he was around before our civilization.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe he's a time traveler. No.
Right.
So yeah, these are the kinds of things that we're investigating and really just trying to figure out whether they're valid theories or not. I'm not one to say that this is how it happened or this is exactly what is, because that's what's gotten us into the mess that we're in now. Everyone has a theory or has an idea, and they say, well, that's the way it is, and there's no other way. It's impossible.
Right.
And what we're finding is that when you pick one reason for something, you completely block the possibility of anything else.
Right.
And we can't do that anymore.
Right. That's right, because now is the time for all the possibilities to...
Exactly.
Well, the right possibilities. I mean, there might be one answer how they built that,
sure.
or each pyramid might have been built a little differently. Maybe they were learning in the process as well.
Right.
So they might have used different techniques, or maybe underneath that pyramid was the water, but another pyramid someplace else didn't have that, so they used something else.
Right.
I like this levitation thing.
I think it's cool. I mean, just the possibility of us being able to move objects. And it's always been something. I mean, I loved comic books when I was a kid and superheroes and all that stuff. So
Right.
I'm an 80s kid, so I loved all that stuff. So it's just really interesting to find that the nature of reality is such that we really don't understand completely how it works. And there are so many amazing things that happen every day, miracles, and we can attribute it to whatever we want. Some people attribute it to God, the universe, the Great Spirit, Buddha. You know, the Hindus contribute it to their various gods. But yeah, so there's just so many possibilities out there. Why not explore everything?
You know, that's a really good point. Miracles happen all the time, and we say, oh, that was a miracle, or that was strange, or that was weird, or we use different words to describe it. But we think they're anomalies.
Yes.
And yet they happen
all the time.
Exactly.
All over the place.
And we think, wait a minute, if it's happening all the time, why don't we use it all the time and make that the standard?
And maybe we can. And that's the question that we're kind of asking. That's the question that I'm asking.
Right.
And I hope that more people will ask that question.
All right. So the show's called Ancient Tomorrow, and it'll be on PBS. Is the
It's
plan.
actually not. That has since changed.
Oh, okay.
We're kind of working on a couple of different avenues right now.
Okay.
But
you'll let us know?
Absolutely.
You'll let us know. We'll let everybody know.
Yeah.
And so after Ancient Tomorrow, I don't know where you could go from there, but where could you go from there? Where do you think you want to go from there?
You know, I don't know. I've kind of come to a place where I'm open to letting nature take its course. I mean, I have my goals, I have my ambitions, I know the things that I'd like to accomplish, and I'm just going to kind of let everything unfold. I have started my own production company, which I hope to...
Is that the Black
Mass.
Right.
It's Black Mass Studios, which I started with a good friend of mine. He actually currently works for DreamWorks, and does a lot of those like 3D animation movies. So we're hoping to really follow what Jim Cameron did with Avatar and kind of embrace this fictional look at different possibilities.
Quote unquote fictional.
Quote unquote fictional.
Right.
Right.
Because technically, if they were able to do that before, we might be able to do it in the future. So
exactly.
So we start with Ancient Tomorrow and head to our future.
That's why it's called Ancient Tomorrow. We're really going to investigate what happened in the past and see what the possibilities are for the future.
So you and I might be having a future conversation while levitating.
We could.
Or on a stone that levitates.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting you said you were a child of the 80s and that you watched these shows. Well, where did these shows come from? And they come from our quote-unquote imagination.
Right.
So levitation and moving things and, the power that they had and magic carpets and all that stuff. Right. How do we know that this...
And a lot of this stuff has come from our mythology. I mean, if you look at what Homer wrote in the Iliad and the Odyssey, the Greek gods, the pantheon, all of this stuff has been with us since the beginning of our civilizations, the beginning of our written civilizations. So why couldn't it be, where did that come from?
Right.
And of course, Carl Jung talks about the collective consciousness. All of our thoughts are shared. In some way, we can tap into different, areas and... So there's just so much. I don't know. There's a lot to...
There is so much, and I can see your head going. And,
it goes and goes.
There's so much that you'd like to say, our interview is coming to a close, and there's just so much, and you're going to be saying it. Not to worry, because there'll be many, many more interviews, but there'll be the TV show, and there'll be many other shows, your movies. Absolutely.
You also mentioned this will be on YouTube.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're filming this for YouTube.
Awesome.
And it's interesting, thank you for saying that. It's actually being filmed by our very own Ken Sheets, who's our marketing guru, and everybody's marketing guru, actually, from
Maybe
Buzz
Brothers.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Do talk to him after the show, because this is the kind of thing that people are looking for expansion.
Yes.
And I have to wonder, here we are, in an age group, some of us that are looking at this age. But are you telling me that there are more of yous out there in your age group that are already thinking about this stuff, not just you?
I can tell you if there's one of me, there are many of me. I mean, I'm just one of many. And we're all one of many. We all have different ideas, and there's just so much out there. There are plenty of people that I've definitely connected with recently who have this similar beliefs and really want to get these ideas out there.
What I really liked about this interview, and I thank Dorothy Lee, our producer, for bringing you in, because she really made a point of that, of saying, you know, this is our future. And if you really look at it, if this is what you're coming with now, you know, we're starting here, but if you're starting with it, that by the time you get to our age, and I'm only like a year and a half older than you, but by the time you get there, I don't know what's the laughter in the room. Anyways.
I thought you were younger. That's fine.
So then the knowledge that you will have acquired and the changes that you will have helped the world make.
You know, I can only strive for so much. I can't set any expectations, because I've learned that with expectation comes disappointment. So you just kind of have to let it go and see what happens.
Well, not only are you not setting expectations, but you're also not being rigid about how this is going to look or where this is going to go or what's it going to be, because you're open to the possibilities.
Absolutely.
And for gosh sakes, if we can levitate, then what do you know from here that, you know, when you're levitating, everything will be looking differently.
Right.
So you're not able to project.
Exactly.
But if you were going to project, would you say you're going to be a big Hollywood mogul and you're going to change the face of Hollywood?
I would say,
yeah.
I would say, yeah. That's
I mean, look
goal.
at you. You're dressed in like a tuxedo almost. I mean, you're looking sharp. I mean, you're ready. You're so ready.
I'm ready. Yeah, I've been ready. You know, I've just kind of woken up is the best way to put it. And I really just want to get out there and make some movies, make some comic books, video games, all that stuff.
Wow. Well, this is really exciting, and I know that your fan base is cheering you on, and it's only going to get bigger. And it all started here on Life Changes.
It did.
So thank you, Ramon.
Thank you so much, Filippo. I really appreciate it.
Govea Gomez for being on the show, and we'll look for Ancient Tomorrow. Now, give your website so those of us who want to contact you.
If you're looking for anything else, it's ancienttomorrow.com. You can also find me on Twitter, MySpace, Facebook. Yeah, I'm on all the social media.
And let's spell your name. You use the whole three, right?
My full name. So it's Ramon Govea Gomez. It's Ramon, RAMON, GOVEA, GOMEZ.
All right, and of course you'll be able to go to lifechanges.ws, and we'll have Ramon all over that.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Please stick around so we can spend some time a little bit afterwards.
Cool, definitely.
All right. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Filippo.
Okay, well, with that, we have our State of the Universe address, which I think we've been talking about, the State of the Universe, actually, but such is the show. And again, thank you, Dorothy, for bringing Ramon to the show, because he's definitely a shining light. And here she is, Dorothy Lee, with the State of the Universe address.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited that Ramon was here, and that I understand there are a lot of his fans listening tonight, which is really good. Ramon is going to join me this weekend for our Energetic Alchemy course, and I'm excited about that. This has been a wonderful, wonderful beginning for a new year, and 2010 brought in a 3 vibration. And 3 is all about expression and sensitivity. It's a very powerful, creative vibration. Before any of these things can happen that Ramon was talking about, we have to learn how to reconnect with Source. We have to learn how to really feel these energies. And that's what this course is all about. We call it Energetic Alchemy Beyond Reiki. So you'll get a Reiki Mastery certificate in just 1 weekend. And I urge all of Ramon's fans and all of our fans to please go to energeticalchemy.com and check it out. It is going to be an amazing weekend. Everyone is at a point in their evolution where they have to choose the path they wish to take. For some, this will be an easy choice, one that they're prepared for and know what they want to do. For others, more healing work is really necessary. And they will be experiencing the results of their life choices in ways that seem more challenging or difficult than ever before. I heard Filippo mention earlier tonight about a friend's wife who has cancer and a friend's husband who has cancer. And cancer comes from having pushed down all of those emotions, all of those things we didn't want to feel, didn't want to acknowledge were in our lives. And so by coming and taking this course, you learn how to move this energy through you, and you can assist others in letting go of their blockages, letting go of these emotional feelings that they've never really gotten in touch with. And so I'm so excited about it. It appears that we're going to have quite a few wonderful young people taking this course. So I'm really, really excited about that. So this 3 vibration gives us an opportunity to prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually for the shift. And the shift is happening now. I've talked about this shift a little in the past, and if you want to know more about it, just Google the shift. And please step out of the fear. 2012, the movie, that is not the shift. That is not the 2012 that I am talking about. The shift is a shift of consciousness. And one of the ways you can shift your consciousness is by joining us and learning how to move your energy through your body in a way that helps not only you, but you can use it on your pets, you can use it with your family, you can use it on your houseplants. It's a wonderful, wonderful energy that's available to all of us. You don't have to be a magician, you don't have to be mystical, you just have to be willing to show up and to breathe. And the rest of it will help you remember how to shift and how to shift with the shift. So the main thing is to step into divine cosmic faith and know, like this beautiful young man tonight, Ramon, he said he is just awakened, but he's more than just awake. He knows his goals. He is on the path, and I know his future is big. And I know that all of us who are willing to awaken right now can join Ramon. We can remember what it is we've come to do. And we do that by reconnecting, by grounding ourselves with Mother Earth and then connecting with the source, the force, whatever you want to call it. There's only one energy in life, and that is cosmic energy. So let's use that energy to make the shifts in our lives. It's very, very important right now that we take all of our old stuff and we let go of it. It's the old stuff that makes us sick. It's the old stuff that keeps us stuck. And I want those of you who are having a difficult time right now in financial, a lot of people are looking for jobs, and I just want you to know that all of this is very temporary. The shift is a wonderful thing, and it's about consciousness changing, where people are working together, and people are coming together as we have come together for life changes. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing when you find the people you have really come here to work with, to play with. That's what we do at Life Changes, is play. And that's what we do in the Energetic Alchemy course. We play with this energy that's available for all of us. And it's a wonderful, wonderful way to spend some time that will help you during these next few years. So I ask all of you to go to my website, energeticalchemy.com. And again, I have a YouTube website that this will be up on in the next couple of days. So look for me, and you will find me. And come join us so that we can help you live a life that's based in love versus fear, expand your consciousness in a safe and loving environment, and accelerate your spiritual progress. What you'll do is actually merge with your higher self, and that's where all of the answers come from. And one of my main goals as a teacher, they call me a teacher, but I don't teach you anything. I just help you remember the truth. And one of my main goals in life is to help everyone take their power back. We give it away so often. And once you experience this energetic alchemy and you know that you are the power in your world, no one outside of you, it is really a wonderful way to discover who you really are. So.
Well, aren't you going to say that we are love and all that wonderful stuff?
Yes, we are love.
I love that part.
We'll never forget that you are the power in your world. And let's begin together to make really conscious choices and become the conscious co-creators we're meant to be. And always remember that you are loved, you are lovable, and you are loved.
Yeah.
And thank you.
I feel like I need to hear that every show. I need to feel that I am lovable and loved, and that makes me feel good. And I know that our listeners enjoy listening to you, and so many have said, I could listen to her voice all night, which makes me wonder what I'm doing. But, okay, so what do you need me for? Anyway, so thank you for that. And, I'm glad you mentioned, I don't remember, something at the beginning of your talk, you mentioned the numbers or numerology or something. And that reminds me that today, just coincidentally, happens to be our 47th show. Of all the shows that we've done, coincidentally, today, on the 22nd of February, and Ramon was actually the one who mentioned today is the 22nd. Well, the 22 is a very powerful number. Actually,
what about 47? 4 plus 7?
Well, exactly. And I said, and this is our 47th show. 4 plus 7, of course, everybody knows, equals 18. And you add 8 and 1 together. No, how does it work? Okay, so you add 4 and 7, and you get 11. And 11 is a master number. So if you want to know more about that, you can go to anywhere, Google master number, Google 11, Google numerology, and you'll see how powerful that number is. And we had Ramon on, and it's also the 22nd of February. So the 22nd day of the month. So that's pretty exciting.
It is exciting.
I feel an energy happening over here. And, it's interesting, too, because our videographer today, who's also our marketing guru, Ken Sheets of Buzz Brothers. Let's give out your website.
Oh, give out your website. It's youtube.com, Filippo Voltaggio.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about that, actually. I forgot all about that, actually.
YouTube.com, energetic.
Well, you know what? We'll put those up on lifechanges.ws,
okay.
So it'll be easy for people to find us. Thank you for reminding me that. Reminding me of that. But why did I bring that up? Numerology. Oh, yes. When he walked in to set up his video equipment and all that, and he says, it's almost like this is a channel to something, this room, which is a gateway, right?
It is.
And I said, well, that's interesting because we're in Dorothy's studio where she does her work and surrounded by all these crystals and all that, and she has opened up a Stargate in here. And he says, aha, I felt it. And I'm glad you felt it, and I hope you all are feeling not only it, but what we do here in the show. We say that this is a show like you've never felt before, and we certainly feel that we are living up to that because so many people tell us that when they listen to the show. As a matter of fact, when we have our live shows, people don't want to leave. And it's obviously a feeling that they've gotten while they were there, and they want to stay and bathe in that feeling. So we're very proud of that. So in this show, like a show like you've never felt before, I am proud to be the host. I am Filippo Voltaggio, and it's been a pleasure being of service by hosting Life Changes today. And I'd like to thank again Ramon Govea Gomez for being our guest, and invite you all to go to our website and learn more about him and Ancient Tomorrow. This show goes by so quickly. But remember, you can keep the conversation going during the week by visiting us on our webpage or Facebook. And now I'm Twittering or tweeting or something or chirping. I'm doing it. And it's actually kind of fun. So go to our website and you'll actually on my Facebook page you'll know where you can tweet me. It's actually I am Filippo, right? That's my tweet name.
Yes.
So I'm so glad you're here today because I want to know what to say. Oh my goodness, I talk so much and I write so much I can't write in 147 characters. It's just not enough.
140, sorry.
140. Oh, worse. So please stay connected with us because we enjoy it and we love the conversation. And remember, today's show has been made possible in part by our sponsors, Ion Ways Water Systems, Change Your Water, Change Your Life, and Love and Miracles. And to learn more about them, visit our website and our sponsor page. I am Filippo Voltaggio, and it has been my pleasure again being of service by hosting Life Changes. I, along with our segment host and producers, Dorothy Lee Donahue and Mark Lejeune, and our engineer, Seth, thank you for being a part of this show and being a part of the change we all wish to see in the world. Ciao, everyone.
You have been listening to Life Changes. Join us here every Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and visit us on the web at lifechangeswithfilippo.com. That's Filippo, Filippo. And follow our community on Facebook at Life Changes with Filippo. Join us here next week as we consciously embrace and explore the only constant, life changes.